Good afternoon and welcome to the business meeting of the Government Authority for Walker County, Georgia, and also the public hearing on a zoning issue for Thursday, January the 24th, 2013. May we stand, ladies, with the resolution?
Let's pray. Lord, we do thank you for all the many blessings, God, that you send our way. Lord, we do ask this afternoon, God, that you would be with us, Lord, as our commissioner deliberates different matters, Lord, that affect our county. Pray, Lord, that you would just give her insight and direction. And God, we just look forward to your blessings upon the decisions made. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Sandy. Let us pledge the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Minutes of the last meeting, we adopted this printed copy will be made available for whoever wishes to have one. It's ready to drink. I declare certain property of the Sheriff's Department unserviceable. A resolution whereas it has been determined by the Walker County Sheriff's Department that the following property has expired its function limits for the purpose for which it was purchased. Old iPhone 4 cell phones with 3 serial numbers, which I provide if you'd like to have them. Whereas the sheriff has requested that the property be declared unserviceable and unusable by Walker County, Georgia, now therefore be it resolved that I, Walker County Commissioner Biggie High School, hereby declare that subject property unusable and unserviceable and of no use to the department. Be it further resolved, and it is hereby resolved that said property be disposed of and that this declaration be entered upon the minutes of the county record and recorded in the county property inventory records. This is the order to dispose of the unserviceable property according to OCGA section 1516-144. There's the request. Okay, I will sign an agreement with Sam Asher Computing Services for an emergency alerting system. Brad, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. As a byproduct of the tornado of 2011, we were submitted for and received a hazard mitigation grant from the FEMA and Georgia Emergency Management Agency. That allowed us to have a little over $29,000 to put in. We actually applied for 2 things. One was the sirens, and one was what a lot of people refer to as a reverse 911 system. And they granted us this because they were paying $29,000. The siren things for Walker County would be over $2 million because of the topography and that type of stuff. This is a system that will automatically download into the database all the hard lines in the county, telephone lines, because we have that as part of the 911 database. It'll also be set up for people to either go online or call in to be able to put cell phones and other things on it. And this system will send out alerts, and it's tied to the weather alerts. So when you have like tornado warnings and watches, it will send that out. If you say you want that, and it'll send it to you. It will send text messages, and we have the capabilities to actually go in and put messages in that will then be sent to everybody. This system is unique from all the others on the market right now because it's the only one that presently has it to where if you're down here visiting from, Kentucky, and you're in Walker County, if your cell phone is on one of our towers, it will alert you without having your number or anything else tied to that on the certain levels of warnings that we put out. The money will pay for 2 years of the system, which includes the startup and that part, so we pay nothing for the next 2 years. We are working to partner with Dade County, who has had what by brand name is the reverse 911. It doesn't do as much of this. They've got another year and a half on their contract, so they are running it out, and then they will go in with us on this. So the reoccurring cost from that point on is $10,000 total. We'll pay $6,000, they'll pay $4,000, and they'll maintain it. It's a 5-year contract under those terms and guidelines with that. That is about $10,000 less than anything else out there. Right now, Dade County for 17,000 people is paying some $11,000. When they tried to get out of the contract, they reduced it to 8, and again, that's only for the 16. All these companies that have been involved do it by sections, like they start, their first price goes to 100,000 population, and since we could take Dade and Walker and put it together and still be under that 100,000 for years to come, that's the same thing that we ultimately did when we put in the new computer system for emergency services. They've got the same thing and tied together too.
Okay, this is an agreement that will take place effective March the 1st of 2013. This is between Sam Asher Computing Services, 3300 Monroe Avenue, Rochester, New York, and Walker County, and five-year packaging price, total cost $56,000. The packaging includes HyperReach, AccuReach targeting tool, HyperReach Express, weather alerts, Google mapping, web training, 500,000 minutes. 2-year setup fee, $26,000, $13,000 signing, $13,000 activation, 3 years, 10 county day, 10,000 day, 4 years, 3 years, 10,000 day, 4 years, 10,000 day, and 5 years, 10,000 a day, the 5th year, I should say. And anybody that would like to read the rest of the contract's welcome to. I don't think you really want me to take the time to read it. If you do, I certainly will.
And again, $26,000 is what we'll pay for the initial parts of it, and for 2 years total. And we had an additional $3,000 plus in the grant, and that is to be used so that if we choose to do a mailer where we send out a card saying this is now available to all the addresses in the county or whatever, it will help fund that.
Probably needs to be done.
Because you're
Hard to
well
get your
aware,
message out.
there's not a good way to communicate in Walker County straight up.
Okay, any questions on that?
Is that 10,000 a year? That's the upkeep after the.
Right, that maintains it and guarantees those minutes. And the biggest cost that occurs, part of that is guaranteeing the minutes for the verbal, because realistically, they're all making long distance phone calls. So if you're given 100,000 minutes and you use that, they've got a certain amount of money that's costing them to do that. That's, the texting and that stuff is not a deal, but the phone minutes are what really cost you the money to guarantee that.
I want to close the public meeting and open it to a public hearing for a conditional use variance to be heard on Nelda Alexander of 1426 Happy Valley Road, Rossville, tax parcel number 0-135-045, zoned R3. Now, who is here to speak on behalf of this? Okay.
Commissioner, before they start, I'll give you the basics so that they can go off of that.
Our representative's sick today with the flu.
Right. Planning Commission heard this is a conditional use variance. It's not a rezone. It's to take an existing property and use it for something different from the residential that it's zoned. The Planning Commission did approve it with some conditions associated with it. The conditions are that the signage is no larger than a 3x3 sign advertising the facility, that the yard is cleaned and no product be put in the yard. As it is now, they've been using it for quite some time, doing yard sales out of the yard, and basically they're wanting to move inside with that. The third part is that there are no more yard sales on the property. The fourth condition was that it opened at 10 and closed by 5 on Thursday through Sunday. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday would be the days that we have.
Why those times and days?
That was Susan Tankersley was the one that put these out, and they say they were mainly doing it on the weekend.
Okay.
So they probably agree with that statement, just say so. But that's why she tagged it to days too, because I think right now the yard sales are just doing predominantly on the weekend, right? Right. And then there would have to be adequate parking, and because this would be looked at as a commercial building, they would also have to deal with the handicap accessibility associated with that. From handicap parking places to possibly the ramp going in and that type of stuff.
Okay. Can I speak?
After we discussed the conditions that were discussed in the last meeting, as was stated, we do both work full-time, so we would only be there on Saturdays and Sundays. And with only being allowed to have the one 3x3 sign, if we weren't allowed to set anything outside, then with the location of the property being in the neighborhood, we kind of think that it would probably be not successful if we couldn't set anything. We don't want to drag everything outside, but if we couldn't set anything outside with just the small sign, then we don't really think it's going to be successful for what we're wanting there. So we was hoping if there was any way we could modify that piece of the condition. The rest of it, as far as the ramp and the parking and stuff, we don't have any problems with that. But if we can't set anything at all outside, then we've decided it would probably be best for us to just withdraw our request.
What did you want to sit outside?
Just something so like people there, I mean, as far as advertising, so people know we're having something there. We don't want to drag a yard full of stuff out, but maybe something on, something on the porch or just something in the yard saying, hey, there's a sale there or something.
That was the big factor with the other folks that were in there, and somebody else doing it for that amount. One way or another, the fact that right now the yard sale has everything out there, and they don't want anything out there.
Well, I wanted to go by and look at the property, but I had something else I had to do this morning, so I didn't get a chance to do that. And so, I would still like to do that. And I would like to continue this if it meets with your approval before we just say, no, you're not going to be able to do this. Let me go take a look at it and see if, what were the objections? Can you tell me the objections?
And you may, if somebody else wants to speak on the other
Anybody here
side.
wants to speak in opposition to this? Anybody here to speak in opposition to this variance?
What was brought up in the meeting is, and there were, I don't know,
We have
15 or
one
20
neighbor
people
that
there.
dislikes the idea. So
Right.
it's kind of been objective from the beginning.
They've had people that pulled in to their lot and then not under their control, they drove around and drove through the other guy's driveway to go out and stuff like that. You know,
I did get one call from a resident there that said they did not support what you wanted to do. They did not go into detail, but I'd like to talk with them, see what their objection is to it. I don't want to take away your ability to make a living. And the house is sitting there vacant.
It's not vacant, we just have things stored in it that we were dragging out on the weekends.
Nobody lives in it.
Nobody lives in it. I will say that everything that we've seen that could be potential, I mean, we live in residences too, not there, but anything that we've seen that we thought would be a potential problem, like the first time we saw someone drive out the other people's yard, we had the land surveyed and had a fence put up to prevent that from happening. And then to prevent anybody from parking on the road or cause any kind of congestion there, we had gravel poured so there would be more room to park and stuff. Trying to head off anything that could potentially be an issue.
I did look at property owners that are around you and only had one complaint. It wasn't a complaint, it was an objection. I'd like to continue this for 2 weeks and get back with the planning office and see what we can work out. I want to look at it, I want to find out why, if there's a barrier there, if it's because they're driving through their yards and we can find a way to stop that. I'd like to try that. If you don't feel like you can make a living, I don't want you to get in there and start trying. But, I mean, it won't be profitable, I mean. So let me just look at it and we'll continue this for 2 weeks and then we'll look at it.
Okay, thank you.
And if you can't come back, I'll do it anyway. I mean, if you can't come back to the meeting, I'll just let you know what's been decided. When I talk to the people and when I look at it, I don't review this before the public hearing. I don't normally. And I just read what the planning commission decided. And I don't go and listen to them because I might know something new. And I might learn something new if I go look at this.
Okay.
because as you remember, I don't know, within the last year, you had the hearing on the old Dunn Records property, which is vacant. And it was the same people with the same objections, and the one lady said she brought it up at that time, and I told her, well, that's irrelevant, because it had nothing to do with this place. This is a totally different thing at this time.
Well, I understand if they're trying to clean up the neighborhood. I do understand that, and I don't blame them, but this doesn't necessarily mean that it'll make the neighborhood look bad if you do it right.
Yeah. Can I ask one question on that? The other, based on the statement you just made a minute ago, was the fact that because of the 3x3 sign, you felt like that would be difficult. Is there the option, if she chooses to, allow you to have a bigger sign and still not have stuff put in the yard?
That would be an option. I'm gonna be honest, the lady objected from us. I'm sure she told us, we don't have a problem with yard selling, we just don't want something here. So I'm sure anything that we come up with, she's gonna object to, but
Sure.
the neighbor.
But that's
But the sign, I mean, if we could,
an option for her to consider too, other than what you
I
just
also
mentioned.
would like to talk to Ms. Tankersley and see why she put these restrictions.
Her big thing was, I can tell you because she said it in the meeting, she drives by and the stuff's in the yard and she wants it out of the yard. She feels like that detracts from that. And so she gave that based on the fact that she felt that met the needs of the other people who said, oh, they get there real early and they're staying with us, we get there that early because it takes time to set up to be able to do it, where if we have it in the store, we can just open the door and call it open.
Well, you know,
And
we
those
don't
type
really
things.
have any regulations at this time on yard sales,
That's correct.
so we can't do anything with that.
And that was,
Until
again,
the
Ms.
planning commission
Tanker's
comes
statement.
up with some different rules for that.
Because she said, well, they can do this from here on out as a yard sale and nothing controls it. So she made it and they voted on it, hoping to possibly clean this place up by letting it go inside.
Well, I don't know if you have room inside to do it, or if you don't think you do.
no.
Let me look at it and
I
see.
agree, there's a lot of houses, and I'm not sure, I mean, we are only there on Saturday and Sundays, except sometimes we might go over there to bring something over there during the week, but we do work. there are a lot of houses, and I'm not sure if she's looking at the right house or not, but there's a lot of them right next door that I'm like, wow, and the yard sale looks way better than that, so.
Well, it's
Well,
not
I
better
think she's
than
got
the
in mind
2000
cleaning it up
washing machines
one
and stuff,
opportunity
right?
at a
That's
time.
Right, it's like, I mean, there's several houses and I'm like, it looks like they're having a yard sale year round there. We always take it up at the end of the day.
Okay. I'll continue this and I will thoroughly look into it and see what we can do.
Okay, thank
And
you,
we'll
I appreciate
get
it.
back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And that not having been solved, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the meeting for public discussion.
Commissioner, one thing I just make the news meeting everybody aware, Walker County and 3 of the cities, Rossville, Lookout Mountain, and Chickamauga, have been approved by FEMA and the Georgia Emergency Management Agency for their update on the hazard mitigation plan for Walker County. When they did the 5-year redoing of it. Lafayette has not been, it was a joint plan by all the cities and the county, and the cities, had, just like you did, had to do a resolution accepting the plan that was approved, and all the cities in the county turned those resolutions in, but Lafayette has not turned one back in. I've given them the plan in digital and hard copy and gave them a sample resolution, just like we did with Mayor Harris up here with Rossville and the others, and they accepted it, signed it. Lafayette hasn't returned it to me or sent it in to Gina directly, but the other 3 cities have been. What makes this so important is when you start talking about grant funding and things like that, you have to be signed off and approved in order to do that. And the hazard mitigation plan is a big plan that gives all these projects that you say, gee, we've got problems here. If we do this and it'll cost this much money, it'll fix that problem as far as weather and other stuff are concerned. And so the 3 cities I mentioned in the county are eligible at this time, and I'm hoping that Lafayette has done theirs, because that was asked to be done in December, and if they have, send it in so that they'll get that certification too.
I suggest you give Frank Etheridge a call, see if he is about ready to turn his into.
Okay.
At the last commissioner meeting, we talked about signing a resolution with Catoosa and Dane County for a bond anticipation note, but I've never gotten it back, so I can't do it. They haven't sent it back to me yet. I haven't read it and don't know what it says. So that's why I'm not doing that today.
Who didn't send it back, Catoosa?
Catoosa's the one that had it, and they were gonna sign it and send it, and they haven't sent it, so I don't know if they've signed it or not. I know that the Catoosa County News called me yesterday and asked me some questions about, they were under the impression it was $25 million for each county, but it isn't. If it is, that's brand new to me, I don't know about it, but I don't think that's the case at all. I don't know what's holding.
So you don't have anything to sign?
Not yet.
Have you had any feedback on the 441 proposal for the board?
No, I haven't. Kind of in limbo.
Not from Dave, not from Catoosa?
No, Catoosa's already signed off on 441.
So it's just
And I've
like-
agreed to sign off on it, I just haven't, it hasn't come to me.
And the $25 million bond anticipation note would be contingent on that being agreed to, would it not?
One of the things, the other is what they're gonna use the money for, because there's been some discrepancies right now about what it's gonna be used for.
There's an article online, the Catoosa County News, that I just read a few minutes ago, and it's completely different than what you said the money was going for at the last meeting.
That's what I don't understand.
Because you said it was going to pay off the Erlanger debt,
Well, that-
and
that
that
was
was not
not-
even mentioned.
No, that's not the case, it is not, and the reason it's not is because it's not large enough, and I think they're right with that. They're talking about doing a bond anticipation note to get their hospital in the right financial status to do a bond issue, but they owe money to Medicare, and they're paying 11% interest on that, and it has to be paid off.
This article said basically this 25 million is just a refi, so they can pay off those high interest notes,
Well,
including Medicare.
Medicare, Medicaid, and then their vendors, that they, and I think I told you at
Yes.
the last meeting that when they pay a vendor, or when they order something and send a payment, they keep 25% of it to go against the debt, so they're not getting what they need, and they need to do this in order to function.
But it
The
didn't
rest
mention the
of-
Erlanger, and I thought,
Well,
you told me that that was gonna
Well,
be
that's what
Erlanger.
I thought to begin with, but that's changed, I think what they're, if they do that, they won't have enough to do anything else, if they pay off early. So this is not for that I understand. And so then when they stabilize themselves, begin to be more prosperous, then they will be able to do the bond issue that does pay off all of our money.
This
That's
article
my
said that the
understanding.
20 million that Erlanger guaranteed to start with is gone. It's been used. Which
Well,
was a
last I
surprise to me. I
heard-
didn't think they'd use that much
No,
money.
but when we started this, it was 13, and then they sort of drug their feet and didn't go ahead and make the change.
Yeah, I think
that
there's
probably-
still a little left, but they've used a lot of it.
But I heard they still had 1.4 million, and maybe gone, I don't know, I don't do that every day, you know, and I don't hear it, but anyway, I'm gonna be pretty particular about what this is about before I sign it, because it's important. I don't wanna lose it. If we had to sell the hospital, pay off the debt, so be it, but
So your biggest concern right now is where that money's gonna go if you guarantee the 25 million.
well, we would be guaranteeing half of the 25 million. But I've gotta read it if it's changed and things, and, you know, I did a resolution and I threw it away, because they wanted us to all be together with it in all three counties to sign the same resolution, which I don't have a problem with. I just wanna know what it says before I decide whether I'm gonna sign it or not. I have to protect the taxpayers of Walker County. It's my first job.
And Rich, the good side of that is, realistically, the hospital's business has picked up enough with daily census of 35 to 45 and more, so it's really moved in the right direction, the physicians are coming in, and everything moving in a positive way. The problem they have is, they could support themselves today off what's going on, no problem. It's all the excess baggage that's sitting out there that they're having to deal with, the Medicare that was overpaid under Stewart and all that other stuff, that becomes the big factor. And, you know, it's kind of like the guy that gets laid off from a job and is out of work for a year and he misses 6 house payments and he gets a new job and he can make the payments, but how do I make up those 6? And that's the world that it's in right now.
Okay?
David, do we have any idea if the bond issue does come through, what the interest rate will be? Do we have a window?
1%.
Well-
If the county sign off on it, it's 1%. If they don't, it won't be. That's why they've asked us to do this. And they've neglected to ask the counties to support that hospital since 1998, and they've paid a lot of interest, up to 9.5%. And so, just get deeper and deeper.
Well, 11% is crippling.
Well, it is.
You can't get out there with
And
those
I made
interest
it-
rates.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
Medicare, well, see, they pay them estimated, the estimated bed patients that they think you have, and they lost a bunch of them, and they never told it, so just went and kept the money and used it, and now it's gotta be paid, and it's gotta be paid right away. That's the most urgent thing that we have going right now. And
Well,
Medicaid, there's some to Medicaid, but the most of it goes to Medicaid.
Well, 11%, you're looking at that doubling in 10 years.
It's just scary amount.
And that's all guaranteed by the hospital property itself, right?
Well, actually, it'd be less than that, whatever.
So if the county does something, it would, that's under HE.
That's what I meant.
And HMC.
Guaranteed by the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we
The
sign
authority
off,
board would
guaranteed
do
by the
that.
hospital.
Where the stuff that's there now, if they went bankrupt, it'd be the corporation that going bankrupt, not the hospital authority. And the hospital would still be independent and owned by the counties or the authority.
Very complicated, changing state of affairs. But we look forward to it turning out, and everybody's trying really hard to make it work. Anything else to come before the meeting? resolution, I'll meet, I'll meet 2 weeks on the other thing, and whatever, I don't know what comes up until it comes up.